Okay, thank you everyone for joining. This is our third webinar panel session series from the Accounting Discipline Group. My name is Roman Lannis. I'm a professor at the Accounting Discipline Group here at UTS. We have three panelists with us today talking about blockchain for cryptocurrency finance, a technical view with focus on security. They are Hubbard, Zhu, and Phil. They're all experts in sort of blockchain or cryptocurrency. It's a huge topic, so we only have an hour. We probably won't get to everything. But the whole purpose today is really to touch on some more general issues, and hopefully we'll have some questions. I've got some questions which I will ask of each panelist. If there's any audience questions there as well, please put them into chat or just unmute and ask us directly. We don't have a huge number of people here today, but so, there'll be plenty of opportunity to ask questions. Before we start, what I'd like to do is an acknowledgement of country first. I'll read that out. Then we'll get right to our panelists and the questions. Thank you. UTS Business School respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. The Gadigal people have cared for their community, land and waters for thousands of generations. Based on their deep knowledge of their country, we pay our respects to their ancestors, their elders, and acknowledge their ongoing status as the first people of this land. Thank you. All right. Let's begin our webinar panel session panel session for this evening. First, I'll address some questions to Zhu, who's more of he's a lecturer, senior lecturer at in FATE or the IT faculty here at UTS. So he's our sort of technical expert on blockchain. I've got a few questions for him, probably for the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes. I'll start with a basic question for you, Zhu. What is blockchain and how does it work?
Okay, before answering questions, maybe I can introduce myself.
Sure, please.
So I can give a general background of myself.
Sure.
So me, as introduced by Roman, I'm a lecturer in UTS, Faculty of Engineering of IT. So my interest is on the data, on the system, on the application side. Not really about the cryptocurrency, but we are interested in the supporting technology about the blockchain itself. So with the blockchain technology, we have many research outcomes like papers and projects. We bring the blockchain technology into the real world to solve the security issues. So that's my expertise. Then back to your question, what is a blockchain? To my understanding, the blockchain is a brand new technology for the decentralized systems. Before the blockchain, all the systems are kind of centralized. Let's say to save a database, to save some data, there could be a centralized database hosting all the data. And for this database, if you have the right preliminary, you can do changes, like you can alter data, you can insert some ones, you can delete ones, you can update them. So it's critical. It's a critical issue, meaning it's how to maintain data integrity for the cyber world. It's how to prove the data is the original one. Yeah. And then blockchain invented from the 2008, and it's invented by for the cryptocurrency purpose to support the transactions between senders and receivers. So the integrity is the important issue for such a system, because you cannot deny that I have transferred you $100, but tomorrow I deny that, or I change the amount to another one. So the blockchain technology was invented to solve this problem, and also it wants to achieve a decentralized system. Because the centralized could be dominated by some people or some agent or some organizations, they may shut down the system. They may change the data in the system. They may audit the system. They can trace the activities in such a
So
system.
it's not controlled by anyone specifically.
Yeah. So it's kind of, so the blockchain is a distributed or decentralized system. Yeah, and that is called a blockchain because it's organized in a chain structure, and it's more technical detail. Like all the actions are packed into blocks. So a block is a collection of activities, and then each block will be chained using the hash function. You can treat it as a reference to the previous block. So every block includes reference to the previous block, and the former one is a reference to the earlier ones. So it's chatted together. This data structure is very unique. So it's a chained series of blocks. So it's called a blockchain. So that's basic introduction.
So that's interesting. So maybe from a financial perspective or cryptocurrency or any other types of sort of, assets that may be traded, how does the block then relate to a transaction, a cryptocurrency, or any other security, or any other coin or currency? How does that work in its application?
Okay, let's step back to the
Yeah,
centralized banking systems. If what does it mean? I have $100. It could be proved with I have the cash, or could be proved just with the record in the banking system, right? So for the cyber world, we won't get rid of the cash, the paper thing. So everything is online. So I just need a system.
So that's one benefit of it. It doesn't mean the paper trail is there in a blockchain. You don't need to physically keep it anywhere else.
So the blockchain firstly keep a record of the balance of everybody, all the users. Like I have $100, or
and anyone can access that at any time.
Yeah, and then the access. For the access, you need to do the authentication, right? For example, in the banking, you need to provide the password or your ID to show you are the owner of the bank or of the bank account, so you can access or make a transaction. Then in the blockchain world, you can prove your identity for the authentication using the private key. So private key is it's kind of an advanced cryptography. So you can keep the private key private, only known by you. So you can use that private key to open your bank account, and then make transactions, sign transactions to prove it's you authorized to make such transaction to others. Yeah.
So how's that related to, for example, within cryptocurrency to wallets? Because that's where you enter your private keys, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's also a difference between the blockchain-based wallet and the traditional bank app or wallet. So for the blockchain wallet, it contains the private key. When you make a transaction, you can use your private key safely in the wallet, make a transaction to others, and then the wallet will send the transaction to the blockchain wallet. And in the traditional centralized bank app or the bank wallet, when you make a transaction, you just send a command to the bank. The bank will note down this such transaction. But there's no private key in the traditional world.
So how's that better than the more traditional way of banking and making transactions?
Yeah, the better way is because it's decentralized, and that's one benefit. And the other way is the counter is controlled by the private key holder. Yeah, so meaning it is only you can make the transaction or transfer the tokens to others. But in the traditional banking system, it's controlled by the bank. If it's hacked by somebody or if there's a crisis, hackers or some government that can block your account
Mhm.
or transfer your account to your balance away. But in the blockchain world, as long as you keep the privacy safe, nobody can transfer your balance. So I believe that's a benefit of the
Then if you,
blockchain.
but if you lose the private key, that's-
Yeah, it's gone.
That's the key.
because they do estimate how many private keys are lost, billions and billions worth of private keys, and well, I don't know.
Yeah. So
People have died or people have forgotten or whatever. There's billions sitting in.
yeah.
And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
No,
It's not gone. It's still there. Nobody can
Can't
do
get
it.
access to
Yeah,
it.
No.
well, unless you know what it is. And if the person who does is no longer there or forgets it.
Yeah. So the more power, the more responsibility. Right?
Yeah.
So what happens to that? It just stays there, or does it?
Yeah, it just stays there
It stays-
like a number on the ledger, and nobody can change it. So there are some ways to tackle this issue. Like you can set the private key in different paths, like lock it in the closet or note it down in your app and save it in the wallet. Different or have multiple backup.
Well, you've got little physical wallets you can get, little electronic ones. which store-
That's a pretty secure way. Yeah, you can use the physical security to ensure the cyber safety.
I mean, this information in time could actually be left in wills, can't it? So when you make your will, I mean, these may be things that you have to consider in the future, isn't it? You're not
Yeah.
leaving them the house.
So
You're
could-
actually leaving them
so you could leave those electronic wallets
Yeah.
physically.
as part of your will. I mean, it just shift it into that space. You're not leaving them a $10 note on the sideboard. You're actually leaving them a key that allows them to access billions that you've got on this ledger.
Well, it's the only way, I
Yeah.
presume, because otherwise, if you don't do that, then no one will know anything about it.
No.
I reckon this is the traditional way to solve this problem. Like use some paper contract to note down if something happened to me, then you can access the physical private key and then you can use my account. Then in the blockchain world, you can also save it in a cyber way. Like, yeah, that's about the concept of smart contract. Like you can tell blockchain that if something happened to me, for example, the account has been touched for 3 years, then all the tokens can be automatically transferred to a specified technical account. Yeah, so you can make it a digital contract or digital agreement and put it onto your account.
And it's sort of transferify down into.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
some
Oh, so you can do
conditions,
that.
if some conditions are.
So how do you do that? Via,
Yeah, it's a smart contract.
right,
Yeah, because the blockchain technology have been developed like more than decades, so it's far more beyond the
so
currency.
where do you get the smart
Like the blockchain is a distributed system, right?
So you have
consistently-
to, like, how do you do it via a wallet, or how do you actually write? Well, how do you do physically? How do you engage it?
Um,
I've never seen that.
It's like a automatic payment. You have set everything.
But what do you use? Do you use a wallet, or is there an application?
yeah, so for let's back to the real physical world.
Yeah.
So if I want to make some such kind of statement or the agreement,
Yeah.
I will prepare a document and ask
Physical document.
Yeah, back to the physical world. Let's start from the physical world.
Right.
I need to prepare some physical document and ask like JP or some others to
Right.
certify this document,
Right.
and then let bank or some others to execute this agreement or execute this document. Right.
So it's a legal document. It's not something electronic.
That's in the physical world.
Right.
In the blockchain world, we can follow the same process.
Mhm.
We can create a contract using the computer language that is coding, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can write an agreement saying if this condition met and then execute some actions.
Or would that have to be done by a programmer or anyone?
Is in the form of the program, but nowadays there are.
Or do you have an app or something that allows anyone to do it? 'Cause I've never seen anything like, that's what I'm sort of asking, like.
Yeah, for example, the NFT is one smart contract.
Right.
For example, the smart contract is
So,
tokenized.
so I guess what I'm asking, there are apps that can create
Yeah.
these smart
Yeah,
contracts?
if your requirement is a general one, like I want to make an NFT, then there are some online services helping you to do that.
Right.
You don't have to worry about or know the details of the contracts.
Mhm.
But if you want to make some personalized or some specific ones,
Mm.
then you can develop your own ones.
All right, couple more questions. So that's very interesting in terms of the benefits, I think, of blockchain for financial transactions in particular. So you mentioned cryptocurrency. I mean, are there any other major benefits you can see, and maybe for not just cryptocurrency, but for other financial transactions?
Mm.
I mean, we hear a lot about central banks, they're going to develop digital currencies.
Mm.
Will those be within the blockchain? How will those work? Because, I mean, we hear about it, but we never told how that's exactly. Let's say, China's developing a digital yuan, stuff like that, and I think Russia and a few other places. So will that be within the blockchain, or that's something that'll just be traded on exchanges? I'm just wondering how.
Yeah,
You think that use the blockchain, but
they could use blockchain or use the traditional ledger technologies, because
they don't have control of the blockchain.
depends on whether they want to control or not. And from my perspective, because my background is about engineering and IT, so we want to extend blockchain to a more general area. So through our projects, we believe the most benefit of blockchain is for the trust, to solve the trust issues. For the trust, I believe I think in Australia is not a big problem. If somebody present a document to me, then I trust the document in the whole process. But if we don't have such trust foundation and we are engaging with new people, we need something to create a trust zone for all the parties. Yeah. And when we are running the business with multiple parties engaged, we don't want one party to control the whole system.
Sure. All right, and maybe the final question, something that probably a lot of people would like to know more about is, the Web3 and NFTs and how they fit in within the blockchain, because obviously they are a big part of that. Other than crypto, they are a big part of blockchain tech as well. And I don't know. I think given that crypto has cooled off a bit, I think the NFT world certainly is taking off. So maybe you can explain how Web3 and NFTs, how they fit within the blockchain and how that works and what the benefits there are.
I can clarify some of these terms because we have new concept like the Web3 and the smart contracts. What are they? And from my understanding, Web3 is a new form of using the Web2. Web2 is some server provider services, and we as a user to access.
So Web3, the way I understand, you'll be able to build websites in a similar way as you can with Web2, Google, whatever. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's a couple of web browsers that do Web3 natively. You need extensions for Google and others. So you'll be able to create a website, but it'll use blockchain technology at the same time.
Yeah, similar idea that everybody can create services, not only a website, because website are
Right.
mainly used to present content.
Sure, sure.
Web3 allows you to interact with each other, and the whole process is kind of trusted and recorded on the blockchain. So the Web3 is more like to bring people together to work on some common activity, and then this such process is certified and
So give us an example. Yeah, I know there aren't many Web3 businesses. Well, there are some, I guess. So how does you know the metaverse? How does that is that part of Web3 and blockchain? You know how you're going to have shops in there because they're selling NFTs.
Yeah.
You know, land or whatever, or shops.
Yeah.
So that's all part of it. How does that?
So the blockchain is kind of the banking for metaverse. Like a metaverse is a virtual world. Like
Yes.
you transform every physical things into the virtual world. Also, the entertainment, like activities, collaborations into the virtual world. And in such world, you need to make transactions, right? You need to make a purchase or to sell, and here the blockchain is. Like we need a blockchain to provide the virtual currency.
So basically, these will be websites where transactions can take place directly using the blockchain. Is that correct? Sort of.
Maybe remove the websites after some sites.
Yeah.
Like applications, and they can make transactions.
But you know, you can get the Web3 web addresses, and I bought some as well. You know, and you can create an actual website.
Mhm.
I don't because I haven't seen any.
Yeah.
Because it's all just you know. I mean, they say it'll take. Give it another 5 years, it'll take off. But I'm just thinking, I guess ahead of time, and for the people who may be wanting to get into Web3, how's it like? How's the website? I mean, why do you need a web address?
Mhm. Yeah. So for the Web3 applications, for example, the NFT.
So you get a web address, yeah, you know, .nft, .blockchain, whatever. So you go to that, you can see the traditional web. You'll be able to see a traditional web page.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
What will be the advantage over a Web 2 web? You'll be able to maybe charge people directly in crypto or
you can directly charge in the crypto, and
Right.
also you can transfer. You can manage your assets well. Manage, I mean, you can also track. You can manage. You can dispose. Like which is the Web 2 cannot do that.
Right.
For example, in the NFT case, you can convert your work, like music or painting, into a token in the blockchain.
Right.
In a non-fungible token, and then you can build a Web3 application saying this is my work. This token is my work.
So these websites can actually include blockchain applications directly. Well, so that's interesting. So I might move on to Hubbard now because he's so Hubbard, you want to introduce yourself? Hubbard is the business side. We've got the technical theoretician. We've got the person who applies all this stuff. Just introduce yourself before I ask you the question.
I'm Hilbert Chu. I came to Australia in 2015, and in 2017 I jumped into the blockchain industry because of curiosity. And at that time, it is very new to most of people. No one knows what is blockchain and what blockchain can bring to our daily life. So at that time, we explored the technology itself, and we found it can solve some problems in the real in the real world. So in 2017, we founded our company. We apply blockchain into logistic industry. And after that, I helped the several startups from different industries like the blockchain and the logistics to develop their strategy and marketing. And yes, several common issues we found and we solved that, and also we found the future of blockchain. So that's my background.
Well, that's interesting. So before I ask you some more standard questions, just following on from the Web3, have you had any clients who've sort of started setting up any Web3 type businesses?
So Web3,
It's just, again, I'm trying to understand that from a more practical perspective, just because I think it's very, very exciting, and there's very little of it.
yeah. So
So if you know of any example, you don't have to mention any names, but any examples how it
Yes.
works and stuff like that. Yep.
So just now, she has mentioned the key feature of blockchain technology is no one can alter the information. So it solves the problem of the trust. So how we can apply this key feature into the real world? So like maybe there are some certificates in this from the university, some are counterfeit. How we can use the blockchain to tackle this issue? We give each certificate a smart ID. The ID is
So what do you
unique.
mean? You mean like a degree or something?
Yeah, the degree
That a
certificate.
student gets?
Yeah. So we can give each certificate or the degree certificate one ID. So the ID can either smart contract or either can have everything within that. So you can say, oh, that certificate with the ID is NFT. So you can see, you can touch, you can know what is NFT is. But of course, in NFT world, that is more digitalized. So I just put a simple example to let you know what is NFT and how we can apply the blockchain.
So you're essentially saying maybe in the future when students, they will receive not just a piece of paper as a degree, but an NFT with.
Actually, we already have that.
You already have
So
what?
I finished one. I finished one program from Oxford University. We
Wow.
got the graduation certificate. It's all on blockchain. So it's blockchain certificate. So it's already started.
So so the Web3, then you'd have a website for Oxford University where all this is there or something kind of.
Yeah, I think the most unique key feature of Web3 is you not only contribute to it, you can also own it. So ownership is a key issue.
Mhm.
So like I mentioned,
Correct.
you not only have the website, you
And you
also
own it
own that.
forever.
Exactly. So it's not the Facebook or the YouTube, you just
Yeah,
post it. You're
It's
not the owner.
It's yours, yeah.
Yeah. So ownership is a key issue.
It's your piece of property.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And it's very, very popular. And everyone wants to jump into the industry.
You see that, I didn't think that. So, well, so a couple of questions there that we kind of pre-prepared is, so you've provided one example. I mean, what do you see? So you mentioned certificates, but or degrees. What other things that you see that could sort of just to give people some ideas? I mean, I don't want you to give anything away,
Yeah.
but like in general, where could this be applied and what the benefits of it would be? I think the degrees is a very good example. And
Related to FT, you mentioned.
yes, that's right. And and I didn't know that, and something UTS might be interested in as well, I guess. But anything else, like where does in general, where does the future lie?
Yeah. So another example is from logistic industry. So in some Asian countries, the counterfeit is a problem. Like the counterfeit, the red one and the baby formula and the healthcare product. So because Australian product is very popular, but the people in some Asian countries cannot enjoy the real product. So how we can use the blockchain to tackle that problem? Again, we give each product one smart ID, that is NFC or the other smart tags. So the tag can record every information about the product from the manufacturer to the end shop. So when the end user buy the product, like buy the red wine, he just scan the.
So can I ask, so just to stop you there. So the wine bottle itself will have some tag somewhere on it that can be scanned or
Yeah, like the tab
like,
or the
like a
scan,
QR code or
QR
something.
code or the NFC, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So of course, everything will be kept on blockchain for its security. So when the end user buy it, he will scan or tap. He will know the whole journey, logistic journey from the manufacturing to on his hand.
So an NFT is not something that, I mean, it obviously will exist there in the blockchain, but it's also something that can be directly, as you say, and that's where the benefits are, directly transferred or imprinted on, I guess, more expensive products where counterfeit is an issue.
Yeah.
So is that happening in it? Like, I mean, graduation sort of certificates and degrees and all that, that's just a piece of paper. But has anything has anything been applied? Let's say an expensive bottle of wine or something. Is any businesses like that already?
Some companies have tried, but that is actual cost. So at this moment, especially after COVID-19, the companies just want to survive. They don't want to put actual cost to their product. So that is.
So where is the cost? Explain to me. Why would it be costly if you've got an expensive rare bottle of wine? Where is the cost in attaching an NFT?
So it's not an NFT. Of course, you can put the product into NFT.
Well, how do you get it on a blockchain or whatever?
Yeah, that is.
Where is the cost?
Yeah, so that is NFC. That is smart tag.
And, yes, sorry.
Yeah, smart
Oh,
tag.
the actual.
Yeah, the tag. Just like you go to the supermarket, you see the QR code or the more expensive product. They have the smart tag.
So yeah, obviously in a supermarket you wouldn't put it on a can of soup.
Yeah.
But so at the moment, until it costs very little. So at the moment, it's probably more worthwhile putting these smart tags on more expensive products, maybe cars.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So is that being done? I understand you can't attach it to a pencil or something, obviously.
Yeah, it is expensive enough.
It doesn't make any sense. But I mean,
where the cost is from, right?
because I mean, I like bikes, and I know some bike manufacturers have tried that, but yeah, it's kind of fallen off a bit. But do you know of any industry that's is doing it properly and continues to do it?
So I know a company from Melbourne, the UClass, developed the spray to dealing with COVID-19, and he put the smart tag on each bottle of the product. So when the end user buy it, he will know, oh, that is a genuine of the real product from Melbourne.
And it's being used and
it has been used during COVID-19.
successfully.
Yeah.
But are they smart tags? Are they expensive?
It depends. So if the product is it's not expensive, you just use the QR code.
Yeah.
But of course, QR code is easily to be copied. But smart tag is more, more secure.
Are they expensive smart?
No. If you have a massive production, no. Yeah. But of course, before that, you have to engage the expert to develop.
Sure.
And also you have the team to keep the information.
Yeah. It adds to costs.
Yeah.
So and all of that information, if you have a smart tag, so just for, so it's always there on the blockchain, right?
Yeah.
And each time there is you sell the product or it changes hands, that transaction sits there in the blockchain. Is that correct?
All the transaction history is on the blockchain.
Yes, yes.
So you need to upgrade the supply chain, you need to train staff to.
So how do you do that? You would scan the smart tag or something, or so
It's like, so it's very simple. It's like the Oppo card. You just
scan, you just scan.
Yeah, the scan or tap. That's all you did. Yeah, it's nothing special. Just
Yes,
that.
no, well, that's easy.
Yeah. Just the technology itself and how they integrate the information.
And it's getting cheaper, I guess, to do all
I
that.
think that is a trend. So
Yeah.
especially for the expensive products, it should have more factors to attract the new clients, especially for the research company. It needs the new concept to engage the investors to put more money. That is a
But as you say, it is being used,
not massive.
not massively.
Yeah,
but-
some company has tried. Yeah, and the feedback is
So
good.
from you, so the feed, so that's my next question. The feedback, they're happy with it,
Of course. Yeah, they can. So
and it eliminates those problems of counterfeiting and all that.
yes, and also the clients would like to buy it because they will
Yes,
know
yeah.
it's a real one.
So, yeah, and that obviously will improve the reputation of the product and they can increase their margins.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's something you can differentiate your product against other products.
You can have a higher price.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything you can differentiate, you can
Exactly,
charge more for, obviously. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So-
especially from what we observed from the market, especially for the red one or for the baby fund. So people would like to pay a higher price. Just make
So
sure
in each
that
can
it's
of
a real
baby
one.
formula, literally. is that
They
what-
can have, yeah. So that's just an
But how
example.
does that work in this? So you go and buy baby formula in the supermarket,
Mhm.
then it gets what scanned and it goes into the blockchain automatically.
So yes, so you can design how the logistic journey go through. So either from the manufacturing, you can just scan and then use the smart contract.
So which countries have China have done this?
Where
Where they've had many
in
problems?
several Asian countries, that is a common issue. Of course, we don't have that in
So-
Australia.
I understand, but what I'm saying is it's been utilized already in those countries? Or they're just
mention-
testing it or something?
No, the company from Melbourne, they have users and they sell the product to Asian countries, and the feedback was very good.
Right. And the feedback's good, people. So in other words, it increases the market share. And they're able to. So the feedback from the Melbourne company is
Yeah.
it has improved.
Yes,
things.
and it stands out from other similar products. That is the unique selling point.
In other words, people in the Asian countries where this is an issue would prefer to buy that product as opposed to.
Yeah, and also that is a good sign that people would like to pay for the
100%.
high technology.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay. So I guess based on that, based on what you're saying is, given that it's just the beginning of all, I mean, it seems to be all in its infancy. It's a good time to get into it. So my question to you is, I suspect there would be a lot of, as you say, it may not be an issue in Australia, but a lot of Australian exporters trying to export into Asia, where counterfeiting is an issue. It doesn't matter whatever they're producing. Like, what should they be doing other than perhaps contacting someone like you, or what would you do? What, like, if you want to actually, if you had issues with your products being counterfeited in certain export markets, like what do you need to do?
Yeah, so if you are the company and you face the problem of
Yes.
counterfeit, so I really suggest, so first you should know what is blockchain, and you engage the experts to know the technology, especially the principle or the the other things behind the technology.
But are they yeah, I understand. So
Yeah.
you can engage someone like Zoom who
Yeah.
knows, but are there actual consulting companies that will do everything for you? They'll develop strategy, the tags, whatever, you know what I mean? Because I think that's something that I think Phil will talk about. No one knows, like people want to adopt blockchain, and even the banks who are adopting it, like no one knows where to start.
Yeah.
So I guess, and that's something that's scaring businesses away, because I mean, you have your own consulting firm, but then probably on one of very few.
Yeah.
So if a business is facing those issues, and businesses don't want to just, you know, what businesses don't want to know about blockchain. They just want the technology applied to their products, so their products can be differentiated, and therefore, you know, and give them a much easier entry into these export markets. Who would they approach? I mean,
they can approach me and they can approach my client. But most important is they should know it is not the common product. The solution should be customized to their own.
100%, but that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. You know, it's they would need a consulting firm who would be able to assess what the product is and provide a solution.
Yeah.
But I guess what you're saying as well, there's potential there for setting up these type of consulting firms, and there aren't many. So yeah, I mean, so those of you who are watching us, first of all, if you've got questions for Hubbard, you're welcome to ask. But yeah, I mean, you've got Hubbard's details. You can always contact him or Zoo as well. But that's very interesting, because I know firms or startups who ask me about, you know, NFTs and blockchain, but they just, I mean, they don't have the time, you know what I mean? They just don't have the time. And I don't think they would even want to go to Zoo to give them a lecture on blockchain. They just want someone to develop an NFT / blockchain, whatever strategy for them.
Yeah.
Solution, exactly. They'll pay you, and you stick the tags on there, and there you go. And then they put it in their marketing campaign, you know. So that's, because I think what they've told me is they've tried to look for consulting firms, and they will usually go to the traditional ones, and they have no idea. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think very interesting. So anything else you want to add before I go over to
So another tip. So
Yeah.
you can see many blockchain projects. Either you want to engage or you want to invest.
Yeah, so that would be the next. What else is there?
Yeah. So
Or what else do you
from
do?
my experience, and also that is a common sense from the connection from me. 3 factors you can tell a project is good or not. So first, whether it can solve the real issue, like you solve the problem of the counterfeit or something else. Second, that is related to our daily life. So that is not.
But what other issues are there? There's a lot of businesses don't even know what issues NFTs and blockchain can solve. So we mentioned counterfeit. What else?
So
How else can blockchain and
Yeah.
NFTs help business?
So before answer this question, we should know the key feature of blockchain is solve the problem of the trust. So
Trust.
All issue around the
So
trust.
counterfeit fits
Exactly.
with it.
Yeah.
But what else is there? So trust is general. Counterfeit is a specific issue that they face. What else?
Efficiency.
Within a general term of trust.
Efficiency.
Sorry?
So efficiency. So the
Efficiency.
smart contract to enhance the work
Right.
efficiency. Yeah. So everything around that to solve the key or solve the real problem is a good one. And last, whether this product can empower the traditional industry, like the logistic industry, we use blockchain to empower the traditional one. So that's 3.
So what do you mean by empower? I mean,
So you can make the process more
the logistical
simple
process
and
itself.
the work efficiency much higher.
So all the logistics, basically, all the transactions are within the blockchain. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can, maybe next time, it'd be good to have to show an example of a company that's using blockchain for logistics purposes, and show where the efficiencies are over a more traditional logistical sort of that's for future purpose. Okay, thanks, Albert, and I'll move on.
Right.
We'll finish off with Phil. So Phil, Phil is not a technical expert, but the reason I've got Phil here is because maybe in the future we will do another webinar specifically in relation to blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. And unfortunately, given a very small amount of regulation in that area, it does, from a business perspective, you've been very positive. From a technical perspective, Zoo has been very positive as well. And that's good because there's a huge amount of positives, but because of little regulation, and many say we don't need regulation, it's all transparent, but but then I've heard a lot of blockchain specialists, programmers, business people who actually say we want regulation because there is a kind of a the seedy side to it, and it can be exploited. So we've got Phil, who's a criminologist and knows really, really well about the problems of crime, and I guess that's what concerns a lot of people is the criminal element, the lack of possible problems with security, etc. So Phil, tell us some of the problems with blockchain and how it can facilitate, how it has facilitated crime, and what can be sort of done about it, what strategies, if any, and I think you'll probably say the enforcement strategies are not that great because the enforcement agencies themselves don't know much about it. But just if you can talk about the more criminal elements and something to watch out for, and where people can actually go if there is an issue, if anyone can actually help them, the enforcement agencies.
So I'm Phil Birch, and I'm the Associate Professor of Criminology here at UTS, and sit within the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. And we have a new degree in criminology that sits within that faculty. It's been really fascinating to hear the kind of intersection, if you will, of the technology and the business side of what blockchain can do. And it's also nice, isn't it, to hear about red wine being sold by virtual tags, and all the time I'm just thinking of drug smuggling, weapons smuggling. I'm thinking about child exploitation material. So all these kind of like landmines are going off in my head. In terms of kind of blockchain technology and criminology, it's already been said, we are in the infancy of this, and no more so than within the criminological space. It was only last year in an article in the British Journal of Criminology by a guy called Mackenzie, who talked about this online criminality, if you will, being the new frontier in criminology. And arguably, we haven't got our head around it at all. And he introduced this concept of criminology of the metaverse. And of course, blockchain is a feature of that. And cryptocurrency is kind of intertwined with that technology. And whilst financial crime isn't new to the discipline of criminology and the industry in which criminology feeds into, that has always been addressed in a more traditional sense. So having come from practice into academia and been involved in crime prevention, crime reduction, we're aware of these strategies, but in a traditional form. And what we've seen over recent years with crime more generally is it's been taken into the online space. And this is a great example of that. And so it's an emerging theme in criminology, and we can acknowledge that it both facilitates crime, and so there's the hindrance of technology in that sense, but there's also, it's an opportunity in order to combat crime as well. So we've seen how blockchain, financial crime in terms of cryptocurrencies facilitated crimes such as cybercrime, online fraud, money laundering, and illegal activity that's undertaken on the dark web. But I think
Can I ask you, sorry. So why do you think that's happening? And is it happening in a much bigger proportion than your usual financial crimes? Because obviously everything you mentioned we had before crypto and blockchain.
yeah,
So has blockchain increased? I'm just wondering, like as a criminologist, is there something with blockchain, maybe the lack of regulation, that's making it more convenient for those crimes to grow? Like, what is it? You know?
well, the simple,
If anything.
well, the simple response to that is we don't know, and why we don't know is because we record.
There hasn't been much research done.
Well, it's not the research. Well, it's a mixture really. Recorded crime statistics don't collect online crime data about the online offences. It's traditional format. So you can go to your crime bureau and they'll have the stats for burglary, car theft, but they haven't got the stats for this. The police are collecting it, but more in an informal way. It's not being sent through to your collating agencies like they do with
Can I
burglary.
ask you, at this time, we don't really therefore know the relativities, because crime's going on, but in fact it may be a lot less than in the physical world in a sense, and it may therefore be overblown. I don't know, you know.
Or we're seeing it transferred from the physical into the online space. So, for example, a really good
Well,
illustration.
that's my good eye.
No. A really good illustration of that is with young people and crime, where there has been that downward trend. But when you look at youth offending and victimisation in the online arena, it's grown significantly. So it's almost been displaced, if you will, using a.
So why is that? What is it because the online is harder to police or less regulated? Like,
well, again, I think a mixture of both, in the sense that even in the physical space, offenders will always be looking for new opportunities. And, you know, there's that kind of old adage that they're always one step ahead of those that are trying to detect, prevent, reduce crime. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter whether it's traditional burglary tactic. Before you've worked that out, they've moved on to a new tactic. And so the online space, the technology, has just presented a new opportunity. And it's really interesting that it's so infantile, if you will, but yet it's been embraced in so many ways.
do we at least know whether online crime, from whatever stats are collected, is it growing? Especially versus physical crime?
It certainly is an emerging space, yes. And what's also being acknowledged, and you see that in the kind of what the research I did last year with some colleagues, looking at the youth offending space, is almost the hybrid aspect to it all. So it's moved into the online space, but there is almost a blending of online and offline criminality that's taking place. And that requires different types of strategies. And you've got some criminologists who would be saying, this is a new frontier, as Mackenzie acknowledged. We need to find out new strategies and ways of preventing, detecting and reducing, while others are on the other side of the fence saying, well, actually, no. You know, people have had aliases for years. They've hidden their identity for years in the physical space. They've committed crimes in the physical space that's now just transferred into the online space. We should be able to use those strategies, adapt them, modify them for the online space. So the jury's kind of out on what techniques, approaches we should be using. But in terms,
so basically, nothing's really been done to prevent it. Is that what you're saying?
No, and I think that's because in part we are chasing our tail somewhat, and the added problem to that is the speed. So whilst you say in one sentence, oh, you know, it's 2018, it's so in its infancy, we're already talking about this space enhancing, developing and evolving, and we've not actually worked out what we should be doing to prevent, disrupt and reduce in the current infancy of it. And yet it's already moving on. So there's some real challenges, I think, that is presented to criminology as a discipline, but also criminology as a practice in the various forms that it is practiced, whether that's law enforcement, now it's shifted off into the banking sector, and, you know, new partnerships are emerging, you know, financial institutions working with law enforcement agencies, cybersecurity specialists working with criminologists. And I think in part, as an educator at UTS, we have a role to play in that, even though it is in its infancy. And I think we do that in part. So, for example, with the Bachelor of Criminology, you can study it with cybersecurity, data analytics, digital forensics. And it's those components that are going to speak to the practitioners in order to identify the problems and therefore the solutions. So I think we have a role to play in having these conversations, educating and training people in these areas, but also recognizing the interface between the areas. You know, there's a long-held tradition of IT at UTS, surprise, surprise. We don't have a long tradition of criminology. However, the interface between IT and criminology is unbelievable. And we've heard that here today. So the fact that we at UTS are offering criminology with data analytics, with digital forensics, with cybersecurity, shows us arguably we are pioneering in this area, because the industry doesn't know what it's kind of doing. It's trying its best. It's doing online courses, trying to find online master's courses at the overseas. But what we're providing here at UTS are undergraduate pathways that are speaking to this very real problem. And I think there's something quite enlightening and optimistic about that. Even though we're kind of chasing our tail in the industry, our graduates should leave us and have working knowledge and solutions for these problems that we're identifying.
And as you say, we are hoping to develop fairly soon a short course as well on the issue that will be available to everyone, pretty much in the community, and not just the graduates. Just to finish off, so what would you recommend to people dealing with blockchain, with cryptocurrency? They're concerned with, or they think some crime has something a more practical criminologist recommendation. Like, I mean, obviously what you've said is education is one way of, so you educate people so they try to avoid those situations. But let's say, you know, they've gotten into it already, you know, because there aren't many courses. They've gotten into it, you know, they see a few problems, or there is a problem. What avenue is there for them to, I mean, can they go to the police? What can they do?
Well, I think for anybody who's a victim of crime, then yes, it must be reported to the police. That's the first port of call. But I think what we're seeing in this,
do we have specialist police units or any other regulatory? I think ASIC may have an online something.
Yeah. So in terms of the police, they will have their own digital forensics kind of area and stuff. But if you're reporting a crime, it will go through to the general reporting mechanism. And then with any crime, it then will get filtered off into the appropriate kind of specialisation. So it will get to your specialist in digital forensics. But that's the point I was getting to. Any victim of crime reported to the police, but also we're starting to see a greater role in reporting by non-traditional law enforcement agencies like banking, the banking sector. And so anybody who thinks they've been a victim of a financial scam or anything of that nature, then they must contact their bank in the first instance too. And you're right, ASIC and those types of agencies have now got reporting mechanisms. But for me, I'd certainly be advocating for it to be reported to the police and a financial institution if it involves your bank.
Are you aware of any incidents that have been reported, and has the police done anything about?
Well,
are they able to? Because obviously, I mean, that's a question for Zoom maybe. Because I know the police. What can they do with blockchain? They can't with it. They can't. I mean, I know the US. You know, the IRS or the SEC, because they're the biggest, and they say reverse that trend, it'll be done.
Yeah.
But Australian police, can they actually do they have the power to do anything within a decentralized blockchain network?
Yeah, that's the challenge from the blockchain. So I think it could be a safe way if you authorize the knowledgeable expert to manage your assets, like you authorize the bank or your experts. Yeah, that could be more secure and safer. Yeah, because it's really challenging to reverse all the transactions and
So
get money back.
security is something we haven't talked too much about, that we haven't had time, and that I think that may be another topic for another webinar or something. But that I think that is a critical issue, Phil, because it seems like the police in Australia doesn't know a huge amount about it, nor can they have any enforcement power.
I wouldn't just kind of label
So
it.
prevention is probably the key at the moment.
Absolutely, and I don't think it's just an Australian policing issue. It's a global issue. But also, I think that there should be some kind of optimism taken from the partnerships that domestic police have with their international partners, whether it's the AFP with the international partners, but there'll be, if there's any kind of transnational crime.
So are you aware of any sort of anything like any organizations like that? Because when it comes to tax matters, tax authorities may coordinate these days.
Yeah.
Do enforcement agencies, with respect to blockchain, is there anything going on at the multilateral level that you know of?
Not anything that I know of, but certainly if you've got an organisation like the tax, if they had identified problems, they would take it to the police, and then that partnership would foster itself. Then it would be an investigation that was probably done by the tax organisation and the police. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a good thing in many ways, that partnership working, because I think what we've found in the past, whether it's to do with finance, whether it's to do with technology, if we haven't allowed the criminal justice system to keep up with that shift in the landscape, then, for example, you'll get the police, they'll launch the investigation, they need to find intelligence and evidence to take it to a successful prosecution. They don't have that knowledge, they will bring in experts. Let's say the tech expert with the blockchain knowledge. What you're finding is there's almost a kind of butting of heads, in a sense, because the tech people are probably so aware of the investigative process, the importance to gathering evidence and how to quarantine that evidence in order to make sure it can be taken to court for a successful prosecution, or even get to court. If they've done anything with that, tampering it in any way, that could blow your case out of the water. And then you've got the police on the other side, law enforcement on the other side, who don't have the tech knowledge. And so you've got this kind of instant kind of, jarring experience. I think by blending disciplines like criminology with cybersecurity, data analytics, what you're going to have is law enforcement agencies who have the working knowledge. You still might have to bring your tech expert in, but your law enforcement officer who's done the Bachelor of Criminology with cybersecurity here at UTS, for example, will have the right knowledge to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing that I think we need to be thinking about.
Thank you, Phil. I think that's probably enough for today. Are there any questions from anyone online? We're happy for you to unmute and ask, if that's okay. Anyone at all? Please don't be shy, just unmute and ask any of us a question if you like. Anyone? No one?
Do you know what I mean? And we did that last year. That was December last year.
Okay, there's a question here. What role inflation will play if our economy was blockchain based? There's a question here. What role will inflation, what will the blockchain?
It's a very tough question.
Very tough question. Yeah, I'm not
So the
quite sure what the link
inflation
is, but yeah.
So inflation is a common issue for all over the world, especially in Australia. We suffer from the rising price for everything. But the blockchain solves the issue of the trust. So if we can put everything as planned on a smart contract, that maybe make us suffer not much. That is very complicated.
So have you seen, has inflation been an issue in your blockchain business?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's as much of a problem as in any other
definitely.
physical business.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that is a good question. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah. Anyone else? Please. Yeah.
There's also that resistance a little bit, isn't there, from going to digital currency? There seems to be like a movement growing around don't let cash disappear.
Mm.
And I wonder whether that kind of growing movement features in this debate.
Any other questions? No? All right, we might finish there just before we stop the recording. This will be available on the Accounting Discipline Group website, the video that is. There'll be a link to it.